Making the widow prop, you need to get a skeleton. Now there's a bunch of these different skeletons out there, Walgreens, Spirit. The one that I used was from Walgreens. Now there are differences between the skeletons, and the only reason I used this one is because this one's really easy to take apart. This screw here is really important to the whole prop. And you have to be able to take this screw out and put it back in. It's right located in the center of the back. Another thing that's easy with this skeleton is you can pop these, you got to take the arms, you have to take the arms off and the legs. You might be able to make it work with other skeletons, but like I said, one of the main important things is you got to be able to separate it right here, and that's the last rib, between the last rib and it's like right in the middle of the spinal column. Plus they're kind of thin, so they're easy to cut through because you're going to have to cut through the bottom of the tailbone too. Okay, before I get too far ahead of myself, what I did here is just made a basic stand. This is from the feet to the hips. And then on the hips, I got one of these Reindeer Motors. Took it apart, just took the cap off, and I put 2 screws, one on either side, that's the black dots down there, to hold it in place. Alright, so here's the mounting of the Reindeer Motor with the stops in place. The stops are just 2 screws, and what happens is as the nail comes around, it will hit one of the screws and then it automatically reverses itself. So that will give us our back and forth motion on the prop. Here's the movement of my skeleton for my widow. I'm going to have to adjust it a little bit, but what I did was I just used screws as stops and a nail, which I showed you before. I got this fiberglass rod. The fiberglass rods you can find at Home Depot. What they are, it's a 3-foot fiberglass rod, round rod, that they use to mark driveways and curbs and stuff like that during the winter time so the plows don't hit them. All those fiberglass rods, you got to look for the ones that have a cap on them, because the cap is how you can connect the motor to the rod. Now I'm going to have to hot glue that. That's just sitting in there. But even just sitting in there with no glue, it's moving fine, because there's no resistance on it right now. I'm sure when I put the clothing on it, we'll get a little bit more resistance. Then what you do is you take your skeleton and you split them right there at the bottom. There's some screws. You can see the rod actually up in the center. And then it goes up and you also split it at the neck right here. Once you do that, you drop the rib cage on, and there's a screw that you'll take out. It's right here. You space out just a little bit, you drill a hole, and you put that screw back in going through the rod. So you can see how he's a little wobbly, because that's the only thing that's holding his body up is that rod right now. And then it goes up, that rod goes all the way up to his neck. So I can actually probably put a second screw somewhere up here if I want to try to line it up. What you have to do is you got to add hot glue into all the joints, okay, and on the tailbone in the back, because if you do not have the hot glue on the tailbone in the back and the joints, it's not strong enough to really hold them up. This is because this is cheap thin plastic. Then you also got to hot glue the rod into the holder. Now make sure you mark it so you know how far down to go. And if you don't get to that point, then you have problems, because the pin won't line up in the hole. And then I just greased the stops to get rid of any creaking noise. For the shoulders, once you disconnect arms from the skeleton. The reason you have to do that is because they don't turn as far as you need them to turn for the angle that you need. So you'll have to disconnect the shoulders. Then you have to put a wire tie or some baling wire. That's what I have here, baling wire. And what that does is that gives you the angle that you need right here. And it also helps to get her clothes on and off. You have to almost build her in her outfit, and that's on both shoulders. For the hands, you just use a heat gun, get them to go around the umbrella that she'll be holding. All right, here she is completed. The only thing I would probably have to do now is a little bit of Velcro. I have to add some Velcro on the shoulders just to hold her outfit on, and her back, and right here, just so this doesn't fall down from wind. But here's the finished prop. This is my Widow, and I will turn her on for you. Thanks for stopping by. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Have a great night.